Hi everyone, Angelo here with Kinetic Analysis, and I wanted to do another video this week, specifically because we've had some very significant events that have unfolded in the last 24 hours. And so I'll get right into it, but Hurricane Otis in the Eastern Pacific explosively intensified yesterday into a Category 5 hurricane. And this well surpassed the intensity forecasts that had been posited originally by the National Hurricane Center. And so if I zoom in on the simulated wind layers here from our web app Kineticast, you can see that if I click on this layer near Acapulco, the city may have seen winds as high as 160 to 165 miles per hour, according to our simulated atmospheric model. And so this is really unprecedented for this metropolitan area. No storm in recent history has ever made landfall of this intensity in the Acapulco metropolitan area. And so, for that reason, if I toggle over to the losses tab, you can see that our web app is projecting losses of over $15 billion in purchasing power parity. And that is just from the wind and the storm surge alone. That doesn't even include the flooding rainfall. So yeah, very significant event that unfolded in Acapulco overnight. And so our deepest condolences go out to the residents of Acapulco and the greater country of Mexico, because this is actually the third hurricane to make landfall in Mexico over the last month, which is, just not a great situation. And so we hope that the people of Mexico continue to stay safe. So, aside from Otis, we've also been talking about Tammy for quite a while now. So Tammy, after moving through the Lesser Antilles, did bring some moderate impacts, particularly to Antigua and Barbuda. It's actually been intensifying recently. It's been interacting with an upper level trough. So if I go over to the satellite loop, you can see that it has a pretty well-defined eye, excuse me, which is the most significant signature we've seen so far. However, because it's interacting with this trough, it is expected to sort of lose some of its tropical characteristics over the next 24 hours. Oh, and by the way, this satellite imagery, I'm borrowing it from Tropical Tidbits. So because it's expected to lose some of its tropical characteristics, it will eventually start to weaken, but then it's supposed to make sort of a westward hook, potentially getting close to the island of Bermuda and slowing down significantly as it does so. And so we'll have to watch for any impacts to that. But right now, we're not expecting any significant impacts to the island of Bermuda. The most significant really will be some heavy rainfall as the storm kind of stalls close to the island. But as the wind graphic shows, based on these colors, it will have weakened to a tropical storm equivalent by the time it gets close to Bermuda. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was Cyclone Lola in the South Pacific Ocean. This obviously intensified very rapidly as well, becoming a Category 4 equivalent storm and impacting the island of Vanuatu. And so, some of these areas in Vanuatu saw winds of over 100 miles per hour, as well as some pretty significant storm surges, as well as, rainfall in the 12 to 24 inches range. Fortunately, the storm is on a weakening trend. It should get pretty close to New Caledonia within the next couple days, but we aren't expecting the impacts there to be quite as significant as they are in Vanuatu. One other thing that I wanted to touch on with all of these storms, specifically Otis, is if we look at the facility impacts, you can see that the General Juan N. Alvarez International Airport is expecting a downtime of 70 days from Otis. Now, that downtime refers to the time when the onset of tropical storm conditions begin all the way to when a full restoration takes place, meaning power has been restored, personnel are back in the facility and working again. And so that is, a very significant downtime here. And so, if I even look at some of these other ones, so energy facilities, which is another asset that's provided on Connecticut, downtimes of well over a year potentially. So this is a very significant event. Otis was definitely going to be a catastrophe for this part of Mexico. And also looking at some of the facility impacts for Lola, we see that there isn't, quite as long of a downtime with this one, but some of these, such as the Sarah Airport, are seeing downtimes of 20 days. So again, just not a great situation across the globe right now. Lots of storms that have impacted, different land areas and very susceptible areas. But hopefully after this week, we'll start to get a lull as the hurricane season, at least in the northern hemisphere, starts to, kind of wind down in activity. So that's all I wanted to talk about for today, but thanks for tuning in. And again, deepest condolences to the people of Mexico and Vanuatu, as well as, Bangladesh, which was impacted by Hamoon earlier this week. So please stay safe, everyone.